Can the Sun Devils football team start the year 3-0 for the first time since 2019? And if they do, what kind of statement does that make for this program?
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Richie Bradshaw, and I will be your guide for everything Arizona State Sun Devils. A special shout out to my everydayers who are here every day, and thanks for making us your first listen of the day. Don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications wherever you're getting your shows. Stay in touch by following me on Twitter at RichieBrads36, the podcast at LO_Sun Devils. Do me a favor, if you have not subscribed on YouTube yet, hit that subscribe button. Help us get to 1,000 subscribers. We are at 939. I'm not exaggerating. We've added almost 200 subscribers just within the last month and a half. We will absolutely be able to get there by the end of the month. And once we do reach that pinnacle, we will find a way to celebrate together as a channel. Today's episode is brought to you by Ultimate College GM. Ultimate College Football Head Coach is a brand new mobile game that is completely free, has no ads, and is 100% playable offline. Begin your coaching legacy today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back in. And on today's edition of the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, we turn our attention to ASU heading to San Marcos, not San Marcos. I was corrected by some Texas natives on the Big 12 game day preview, which will drop tomorrow. So if you guys want to see what I had to say and a really good roast that I had in the middle of it, I'm just saying I had a really good time with that. You guys should check that out. It's a really fun time. It's a big old round table with all the hosts in the Big 12. I was able to make it this week. With that being said, you are going to San Marcos tomorrow night for your first road game of the year against a pretty darn solid Texas State football team. Now, I know on the surface, this is like a G5 team. They are Sunbelt. You feel like you should be able to roll these guys. And I don't think that's going to be the case. Excuse me. They have been outstanding this year. They have almost 1,000 yards of offense in their first two games. They have 5 passing touchdowns, 6 rushing touchdowns. They're averaging 8.7 yards per attempt. They're averaging 4.7 yards on the ground. They are a very balanced attack. They've got a pretty good defense as well. They have 7 sacks on the year. They have 2 turnovers, but they've been overall a really good unit that plays sound, and they match this offense really well. And there's a reason they're 2-0, and there's a reason that they are blowing out their opponents. They absolutely dominated UTSA, another really quality G5 team, 49-10 last week. They are more than capable of crushing whoever they go up against. Now ASU hits the road to take on the Bobcats. This is not a walk in your trap, take your trap game. That's not the way ASU should be going into this. They need to go into this understanding, hey, this is our first road game of the year. This is a big test for us. It's the final game before we go into Big 12 play. How great would it be to start off the year 3-0? And that's a really good talking point here is, once again, this is a really good benchmark game for Kenny Dillingham. I said this last week, talking about Mississippi State, along the lines of it's an SEC team. It's a team that's in a similar situation as ASU. They're coming off a bad season. They have a bright future with the pieces they have on offense. It's an SEC team. It was a good benchmark game. So when I call this game a benchmark as well, it's a little bit different. Rather, this is a really good opportunity to show that you can go on the road now and beat quality opponents. Last year, ASU, of their 2 of their 3 wins, they got 2 of them at home against, who'd they play week 1? Southern Utah, and against Washington State, and then they got a solid win in the Rose Bowl over a bad UCLA team. But they really struggled on the road to be able to pull out close wins over Washington, over Cal. They should have been able to take home those games, but they weren't able to. So now you're going to San Marcos You're going to play a very good Texas State team that, similar to what I said about Mississippi State last week, I think they should be able to go bowling this year. They're one of the heavyweights in the Sun Belt Conference. This is a good football team from top to bottom. ASU, are they more talented? I would assume so, considering you're a Power 4 team. But that doesn't mean that Texas State won't play up to their competition. This is not a gimme game. I didn't see this as a gimme game during the offseason. This is not a gimme game in week 3 with ASU looking as terrific as they do and Texas State looking also like a very good football team. So this kind of benchmark game is to see whether or not you're ready to go on the road and beat teams that are quality. I don't know if I would say beat teams you're supposed to beat. Of course, again, it's a Power 4 team against a G5 team. In theory, this is you're supposed to win this game, but this is a rebuilding program in ASU. This is a good test for them. You're also going to see how you stack up against a dynamic offense. ASU has been a great defense, if not elite defense. They've been, at worst, one of the 50 best defenses in the country. I don't know statistically how high they are. I would imagine that they are seriously flirting with top 15 to top 10 in like run defense and stuff like that. They're certainly up there for turnovers, and they're number 1 in defensive touchdowns when it comes to turnovers. This is a great start to the year. You're going up against an offense, like I said, in Texas State that nearly has 1,000 yards in 2 games. So it is a classic case of that old saying, you have an unstoppable force that meets an immovable object. We're about to find out if this unstoppable Texas State offense can roll past an immovable Sun Devils defense. Brian Ward, who I've said many a times on the show recently, is going to get opportunities for a step up if a bigger program wants to call him and hire him as a defensive coordinator, or maybe even head coaching opportunities. Here's a great testament for him to come out and show you, yeah, no, I am absolutely worthy of getting those kind of calls. If a big name program, I don't know who, and I'm not going to speculate, were to be looking for a defensive coordinator, you have to imagine Brian Ward is going to be high up there on his list. If ASU starts the year 3-0 and they dominate 3 teams that can run the ball at a very high and efficient rate, that's about as good as it gets. Again, this is your first road game of the year. It is a legit hostile environment. I was told that this is the Party School Bowl. I don't know too much about Texas State. If you guys jump into the video, please let me know. I have been told that Texas State is way up there with ASU. So I guess we're going to find out who the better party school is. But ASU, come on, boys. We got to show them that we know how to party better than any other college in the state, or not in the state, in the nation. Finally, this is a chance to start the year 3-0. Now, I don't know if you know this, but ASU has won 3 games in back-to-back years. 3-9, 3-9. You are already 2-0. You are 1 win away from matching your win total from each of the last 2 seasons. That's pretty nuts. This would also be the best start to a season that ASU has had since 2019, which was the debut of one Jaden Daniels, the super high 4-star / 5-star quarterback, one of the highest recruits the program has ever had, and opening a new era of Sun Devils football. You started that year 3-0, which included a win in East Lansing over who was number 18 Michigan State, I believe. They had really big wins to start that year. This team, sure, they don't have a ranked opponent, but you have much better opponents across the board. These are 3 teams that could easily finish 6-6 and go bowling this year. Wyoming may be the worst team of these 3, still won 9 games last year. Mississippi State, I anticipate they're going to be significantly better this year. Texas State might be the best of these 3. You start the year 3-0 with 2 really quality home wins, including over an SEC team. And then you get your first road win of the year, and you do it in the state of Texas against a very underrated Texas football team, the state of Texas football team. Obviously, it's Texas State. this is a huge opportunity for you to build that momentum, especially because right after that, you are going into conference play. Your first year in the Big 12. Going into conference play 3-0 is going to be significantly better than going in 2-1. Of course, towards the end of the show, we'll talk about, what a win means, what a loss means towards the end. But right now, we're going to talk about how ASU wins this game offensively, defensively, and from a coaching standpoint. We're going to hop into that in just a moment. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to talk to you about our friends over at Ultimate College Football Head Coach. Sun Devil fans, Locked On Sun Devils fans, I want to give you guys a brand new mobile game I think you're going to love as much as I do. And it's a ton of fun. Ultimate College Football Head Coach. In this amazing game and simulation, you step into the shoes of the head coach of your favorite college program, lead its glory. Imagine getting to lead Arizona State University, or maybe a different program that you would like to try out. From recruiting and hiring to overseeing training camps and handing out school scholarships. You control every crucial detail of your program. It's all in your hands. Will you be able to handle the pressure? Here's what I really love about the game. You are responsible for calling offensive plays during the games. That means your strategy not only determines the success of your football season, but it shapes the future and the legacy of your program. One of the most enticing aspects about this game is the fact that it's completely free. There are no ads, and my personal favorite part, it is 100% offline. Play as you go, as you want, when you want. Of course, we have a special offer here at Locked On for our Locked On Sun Devils fans. Use the promo code Locked On CFB, all caps, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your program. Make sure you take advantage of this perk. It's going to help you get off to a strong start for your program. To download the game, visit ultimate-cfb.com or look it up on the app stores. Again, use my promo code Locked On CFB. That's all caps inside the store to receive a free boost for your program. Ultimate College Football Head Coach. Begin your coaching legacy today. Also want to talk to you about our friends over at Game Time. They have a new feature called Game Time Picks, and that's going to make getting tickets for your favorite live events, not just football and sports, even easier. Game Time Picks is going to filter out the fluff and show you incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of tickets. They make the curation process so much easier so you can save on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. They have an all-in pricing feature. You toggle this feature, it shows you the total upfront, and then there's no surprise fees for you at checkout. You see exactly what you're going to pay. You can get a panoramic view of your seat in the app before you buy, so you know what to expect when you arrive. Their lowest price guarantee, best in the industry, they're going to credit you 110% of the difference if you find tickets in the same section and row for less. And of course, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. That's Locked On College for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Wherever you're getting your shows, hit like, hit subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you get an update whenever we post new content. I appreciate you guys for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. A special shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. Let's get back into our conversation now and take a look at how ASU is going to win this football game. Taking a look at what they have to do offensively first. They need to stay run heavy with the caveat that Sam Leavitt needs to remain in a rhythm. What I mean by this, last week, ASU absolutely killed it on the ground game and at a ridiculously high rate for the program and in the history of what they've been able to do. ASU toted the ball 57 times, including 33 carries to Cam Scattaboo. Scattaboo by himself ran for 262 yards, second most ever in program history for a single game. ASU as a team ran for 346 yards. They scored 2 touchdowns, both of them courtesy of Sam Leavitt. They killed it for all intents and purposes on the ground game. The problem, they did not throw it. 10 completions on 20 attempts for Sam Leavitt. Only guy who threw a pass. 69 passing yards. So 50% completion, under 4 yards per attempt. Under 7 yards per completion. No consistency. There was no one that stood out in the passing game. Cam Scadaboo led the team with 3 receptions and 35 yards. After that, Xavier Guillory had 2 for 14. Jordan Tyson had 2 for 7. And then he had 3 other guys catch 1 pass. That's not going to get it done. So as great as your running game is, unless you're Army or Navy or any other military academy, you still need to find a way to throw the football. And even Army's throwing the football this year. They've got some crazy plays. You just aren't winning a lot of football games unless you remain a balanced offense. So sure, you could have another 300 rushing yard game in this outing. But that doesn't mean you abandon the passing game early on. Because guess what? When Mississippi State started mounting their comeback, one of the things that they did so well was stacking the line of scrimmage, putting 6, 7, 8 guys up there, suffocating the run because they knew that Arizona State was going to run it. They knew that Scadaboo was going to get the ball. And they go from allowing 7, 8, 9-yard pickups on a routine basis to Scadaboo to limiting him to 2 to 3 yard pickups. And then when ASU tries to pass the football, they can't do it. And a big reason for that is because Sam Leavitt's been handing the ball off all game, and he's not in that rhythm. When you go for 15 to 20 game minutes, by the way, not even like real time, without throwing the football, it's going to be a little difficult to get back into the rhythm, especially when you are pressured to do so. It's not like ASU was like, okay, let's throw it in there a little bit kind of thing. No, it was ASU was like, oh crap, we need to throw the football because we can't move the ball right now. And then everything is messed up. Your concepts aren't there. Sam Leavitt isn't able to get back into that mentality of I've got to stand in the pocket, this, that, and the other. So you need to maintain some kind of balance. Now, this is, to me, still playing like a 60-40. 60% run, 40% pass. That's perfect. Run the football really efficiently. Be able to pass the football when you need to. You saw this perfectly against Wyoming, where ASU passed for 258 yards and ran for 241 yards. Guess what? They ran the ball 49 times. They passed it 22. The difference in that game is at no point in time did they take the ball out of Leavitt's hands. It never turned into a I'm going to hand the football off to you. I'm going to hand the football off to you. I'm going to hand the football off to you. They still mixed in some stuff. So you should be able to do this again against Texas State. And quite frankly, you're going to need to, because with 2 games worth of tape that the Bobcats are going to have going into this game, they're going to know the tendencies that ASU has when it comes to running the football. That means that you need to be able to mix it up, throw the ball at an efficient and effective rate. That's where it starts. The best way to keep Sam Leavitt in an RPO, spoiler alert, the best way to keep him in a rhythm is to run some RPOs, and my personal favorite, get him some bootleg options. Get him out of the pocket. Get him moving, because he is a dual threat. Allow him to beat you with his legs, but make sure that he is still looking down the field to pass, because all of a sudden, Jordan Tyson or Melcon Stovall are wide open across the middle of the field for a 15-yard pickup. You know where they did that really well? Against Wyoming. What a coincidence. Get him back into a comfortable system that he can run efficiently. You're going to be fine. Defensively, this is nice, short, and simple. How do you win this game? You maintain the gap integrity from the interior of the defensive line. So Jeff Clark, CJ Fight, Jacob Rich-Kongaika, Zach Swanson, whoever else you want to put in there. Maintain the gap integrity. This is from the interior. Edge rushers, that's their own thing. The interior needs to do this so the linebackers and the safeties can plug holes. Keep their jerseys clean. They have done this well all year long. Plus, when you take away the middle of the field, now the running backs have to bounce it outside. You know who has been absolutely swarming the outside? Shamari Simmons. You know who else is playing really well on the outside? Miles Rouser. You have guys who are going to be able to chase down the football and eliminate the run game. Like, you can't run it up the middle because there's a stone wall in front of you, and you can't run it to the outside because these safeties are so freaking fast that you just don't have time to develop anything. So against a Texas State team that's going to run the football in this game, and they're probably going to be better than the first two teams that you have played, you need to make sure that you execute at such a high level with the gap integrity in this game. That is by far the way that you win this game. Bonus points for sacks, double bonus points for turnovers. Bottom line with turnovers, real quick, just win the battle. ASU, they've been pretty good on offense with not turning the ball over. They have not committed a turnover this year. Sam Leavitt doesn't have any interceptions. They don't have any lost fumbles. In the meantime, ASU has forced 4 turnovers, scored on 3 of them. That's an efficiency rate you're not going to be able to maintain. Just win the battle. So if ASU does have a rare turnover on offense, the defense needs to force 2. Find a way to make sure that Texas State is not getting extra opportunities. Finally, from a coaching standpoint, how you win this game. Kenny Dillingham, let the coordinators do their thing. He said last week, look, I got way too involved, and I was telling Coach Arroyo, our offense coordinator, I want to run the football, just run the football. It happens. Totally understandable. But again, by the time that you need to start throwing the football, guess what? Now you can't. Nobody is in any kind of position to just snap your fingers and, oh, crap, we got to start passing the football again. This isn't college football 25. This isn't Madden 25. You can't just flip that switch in real life. You need to make sure that these guys are consistently prepared, which is where you go to the 60-40 approach. Speaking of the 60-40 approach, this is the way that Marcus Arroyo needs to run the game. This is his key to victory. A balanced attack that leans on the run game. 60-40 is perfect. 70-30 might be a little too much. But again, against Wyoming, you were still able to run the ball at a ridiculous rate. But you maintained the ability to pass the football when you needed to. You also are able to dial up plenty of options for Sam Leavitt to get out of the pocket, which is where he's at his best. Those RPOs, those bootlegs, maybe some good old-fashioned, not play action. Oh, my God, what's that called? Read option. Some good old-fashioned read option and allow Sam Leavitt to not just put the football in Scadaboo's hands and call it good. Make sure that whatever you're trying to do offensively, that you still are able to keep Sam Leavitt involved. 60-40 is perfect. You can run the ball 45 times again. I'm good with you passing it 20 to 25 times again, but make sure that you're not going 20 straight plays, 15 game minutes without passing the football. Finally, on defense, we already talked about it. I don't want to talk too much more about it. Brian Ward, you need to suffocate this pass, or not the pass rush, this run game. That's the difference here. ASU, we know they can win in the run game. This defense, we know we can suffocate the run. Well, here's another test. You have started off the year with 3 quality running games. Texas State, they're the best that you faced so far. Here's your opportunity to show that you can absolutely shut down the run on the road against a run-heavy team. Now, Texas State can pass the ball too. This is not going to be a one-dimensional offense. But if you continue to take away the run game, you're going to allow your safeties and your linebackers and your corners, most importantly, to pin those ears back, attack the football, and hopefully create some interceptions in the secondary. ASU has 2 picks on the year. Both of them have come from the linebackers. Safeties, corners, hasn't happened yet. It's going to happen. Maybe this will be the game to do it. But the way that you do it is by continuing to take away the run game, forcing your opponents to throw the football. Last week, they kind of got taken advantage of by Blake Shapen, though. So you need to be able to find a way to mask those weaknesses in your secondary. Not impossible. They can absolutely do it. I have the faith that they're going to once again call a really good defense against a really good offense. Next up, we're going to talk about what this means for ASU. What happens next if they win? What happens next if they lose? That's coming up next. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You have heard us talk about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, but we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season game on Sundays, even the out-of-market ones. So if you're a fan of someone on the East Coast like me, I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan, you can still tune into those games. You don't need to be in market. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment. You can cancel at any time. And guess what? If that's not enough, be sure to check out FanDuel's Profit Boost in the app and use FanDuel's Double Your Winnings for all of Sunday, 9:15, so that's this upcoming Sunday, pregame moneyline bets. Profit Boost will be starting tomorrow on 9/12. View your account page now to learn more about your boost. Visit FanDuel.com, download America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. One last time, wherever you get those podcasts, hit like, hit subscribe, turn on notifications so you get that update whenever we post new content. I appreciate you for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. A special shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. Let's round out this conversation now. We've talked about how ASU wins. We've talked about what this game means for ASU. But now the question is, what happens next? What happens if ASU wins this game? Well, first of all, you're 3-0. You are 3-0 for the first time since 2019, the beginning of the Jaden Daniels era, which was a heck of a start to ASU's football program. The sky felt like the limit for this team when you started the year 3-0 with a ranked win on the road. That was huge. Do you have a ranked win here? No, you don't. But the difference is ASU was not riding back-to-back 3-win years when the Jaden Daniels era started. In the second year of Herm Edwards, they were still a quality football program. So when you added Jaden Daniels to the mix of a team that was already talented, you started the year 3-0 and you go, yeah, no, not only are we picking up where we left off, we're going to be a really good team in the Pac-12. This year, the expectations were literally at the bottom, with ASU being picked to finish dead last in the Big 12. Starting the year 3-0, you're matching what everybody said you were going to win throughout the year. 3 wins was what everyone had. I think Vegas money line was like 4.5. Starting a year 3-0, that's huge, man. Especially for this team that is stuck in a rebuild. Like, it's not a reload, it's not a retool. This is a program that is rock bottom. Starting the year 3-0, that's huge. You are matching your win total from the last 2 years each. You have statement wins. It's not like you beat some Arizona Tech, A&M, University, blah, blah, blah. It's not like you're beating a bunch of Richie Bradshaws on the field. You are beating a 9-win program from a year ago, an SEC team, and a team that is going to be a heavyweight to win their conference this year. That's as good as it's going to get for ASU's out of conference to start this season. Because you're not ready for those big names. You're not ready for Bama, LSU. You're not ready for Ohio State. You're not ready for probably Oregon or USC right now. But showing that you can go up against teams that you stack up well against, that are in very similar situations to you. Games that, in theory, you should win. And in previous years, you do expect them to win. There were no expectations ASU was going to start the year 3-0. If you do, I feel like suddenly this is a team that the nation is going to pay attention to. They're going to go, hey, what's going down in Tempe? I think depending on how you start the year, or not start the year, depending on how you win this game, you might be able to find yourself a few votes for the top 25 poll. In the coaches poll, ASU got 2, they might have got 3 votes. That's not bad. No votes in the AP poll. You start the year 3-0? Come on, you got to give them a vote. You got to give them 1 or 2 votes. If Colorado is getting votes, you have to give ASU a vote. Come on. Give them their flowers. Give them the respect they deserve. Bottom line, though, 3 statement wins, no handout games. ASU proves they can win football games. That's what I have been saying all off season, ladies and gentlemen. If you have been here for a minute, you know that the one thing that I have said on a repetitive basis, to the point where if you're watching this show, you hear me say, can ASU win football games? And you go, he said it. He said the thing. It's everything. It's everything to this program, because you could have beaten plenty of teams last year and you just couldn't. You couldn't finish games. You couldn't play 60 minutes. They didn't know how to win football games. That doesn't look to be the same this year. Last week against Mississippi State, ASU loses that game last year. They almost blew it in the second half, but then they figured it out. They do not crush Wyoming the way that they did. Hopefully you still win, but it doesn't look like that. Now you're going on the road to play a good football team. These are statements that you can win football games if you lose. Now, again, this is always kind of predicated on how you lose. You lose by 30. I wouldn't say the sky is falling, but you definitely kind of go, ASU's probably fluky. If you lose by 3 and you go stride for stride with them, whether that's a 35-32 win or a 10-7 win, you're showing that you can still hang in there, but maybe you're not ready to win the tight games when you need to win them. So it does depend on how you win or lose this game. Bottom line, I feel like that kind of does the same thing for you no matter what. If you crush Texas Tech, if you crush Texas State, you definitely have to take a look at this team and go, they might be legit. So we'll see. If you lose this game, depending on how you lose, you start the year 2-1, and then you immediately start Big 12 play, heading to Lubbock to play Texas Tech, who is slumping. And that looks like a very winnable game for a game that I did not think you could win to start the year. This is not an ideal way to go into conference play, because you could easily see the wheels fall off. ASU could lose this game to Texas State, and maybe they let it seep into their head kind of thing. You lose by 20. The wheels might fall off. You might lose the momentum and the confidence that this team has, especially to go on the road, by the way, where you face 3 of the preseason top 25 ranked Big 12 teams. You go on the road to play K-State. You go on the road to play Arizona. You go on the road to play Oklahoma State. Those already feel like 2 losses. You're beating Arizona, by the way. That's tough. Finding wins throughout the rest of the year in an absolutely loaded Big 12 schedule. I'm not saying you have to start the year 3-0, but I'm kind of saying you have to start the year off 3-0. Say you're going to win this game. What do you think the ramifications are? Let me know in the comments. You can hit me up on Twitter as well at RichieBrats36, the podcast at LO_Sun Devils. Wherever you're getting your shows, though, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you get that update whenever we post new content. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, making us your first listen of the day. A special shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. And if you have not hit subscribe on YouTube yet, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Be the subscriber that gets us to 1,000, and then we'll find a way to celebrate together as a channel. I appreciate you guys for tuning in to this edition of the Locked On Sun Devils podcast. We will be back again tomorrow, bright and early, as we have our game day preview. We're going to look at the offense and the defense for the Sun Devils, players to watch, make some bold predictions, and a final score prediction for this game. I will see you tomorrow, bright and early. Till then, you keep it locked right here on Locked On Sun Devils.